with 9.5% property tax increase set for 2024. Can you pay the new property tax in Toronto? Can you still live in Toronto? And if you're a first-time home buyer, thinking of buying a home in Toronto, how in the world can you afford it? It's a pain, I know, but it has to happen. These are what we're going to touch on in this week's episode of Toronto Living. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel where we talk about all things real estate. If this is your thing, subscribe to the channel now and hit that like button so we know exactly what type of videos we are going to produce next. My name is Lay. I'm a Toronto realtor and a mortgage agent licensed in the province of Ontario, serving the Greater Toronto Area. 9.5 property tax hike is what the Toronto Mayor Olivia Chow has decided for 2024. This is a historic hike, being the highest since the amalgamation. This is about $372 additional tax that a homeowner in Toronto has to find somewhere if they wanted to keep living the dream. Reality is, this is going to happen. It's just not because it's Olivia Chow. The city needs money to run, and running Toronto will cost $17 billion this year, or at least that's the operating budget they want to work on, which includes the 8% property tax hike and 1.5% building fund totaling 9.5%. So prior to 2024, Torontonians are enjoying one of the lowest property tax rate in Ontario. Let's talk about property tax for a moment. Property tax are paid by homeowners to the city annually. So this is calculated based from the municipal assessment provided by MPAC, which rounds about 0.5 to 2.5% value of the home. MPAC, aka Municipal Property Assessment Corporation, completes a province-wide assessment update every 4 years based on legislated valuation date. The valuation date established by the Ontario government is a fixed date on which all properties are valued. They are responsible for assessing about 5 million province-wide properties every 4 years. They are responsible for providing current value assessments or CVAs and classification for all properties in Ontario. The municipalities such as Toronto uses this value to make their decision on how much the rate will be to meet each revenue requirement for the year. The province uses this value as well to figure out what is the education rate that they will impose for the city for the year. How does MPAC assess your property? Based from your neighborhood's property type, building exteriors square footage, lot, quality of construction, and age of building, adjusted for any major renovations or addition. So if you notice, in one subdivision, they build kind of similar type of properties in a certain neighborhood. Let's say 2-story homes made of townhouse, semis, and detached homes. So they pretty much have the same style from the same builder. That's why we call it sometimes cookie cutter homes. There are different types of properties, but they are classified as residential, commercial, etc. For today, we'll focus on residential. MPAC compares sales of similar property types and based on other factors, come up with the values. So you'll see that these assessments are dramatically lower than current home values. Thank God! Imagine if they are using the current ones. Everybody will live on the streets. This number multiplied by a tax rate prescribed by the city, which is, for this example, I will use residential. So in the table, you'll see the combined rate of municipal and education. Other municipalities have different ways of allocating their taxes, but in Toronto, property taxes are used to fund services like policing, firefighting, parks and recreation, road infrastructure, those are fixing potholes, replacing sidewalk, installing bike lanes, water services, waste collection, snow clearing, and the likes. Most of these are allocated for transportation and shelter. So, Toronto's planned operational budget for 2024 is $17 billion and its capital budget is $49.8 billion. The costs to run the city are paid for by the residential, property taxes, and commercial taxes, with some funding provincial, federal governments, and other streams. So 33% of city's operational budget is taken mostly from property taxes and 3 other sources, which is the water and waste management and parking. So the total tax rate includes the city rate, the city building fund levy, and the educational tax rate, which is set by the provincial government, as we learned earlier. The city building tax is a special levy introduced in 2016 that goes toward major transit and housing projects. So if you're seeing those TTC infrastructures and stuff, those are coming from the taxes. The goal of operational budget is to keep the property taxes at par with the inflation. But this year is different because the city is running on a $1.8 billion deficit to begin with. Now, let's look at how city has inherited this debt. How did we end up here? The city has accumulated pandemic-related shortfall over the years from 2020 to present to a tune of roughly $2 billion each year to fund increase in health services while revenues are at a minimum. The shutdown and slowing down of economy and employment. Buying a home in Toronto is what most Torontonians are dreaming of, and with all these taxes and higher cost of living, first-time home buyers are getting a reality check. But if you decide to rent instead, the rental market is very competitive as well. Check out my rental update video next. I will post the link up and in the description below as soon as I uploaded it. Subscribe now so you won't miss it. If you are thinking of buying a home in Toronto, you will have to pay a land transfer tax based on purchase price on closing date. And this cannot be added to your mortgage. You don't pay it, you don't get to move into your new house. There's a first-time home buyer rebate of up to $4,475 subject to qualifications, which I am not going to elaborate on this week. On February 2008, the city has levied an extra land transfer tax called the Municipal Land Transfer Tax. So it's like a double land transfer tax applicable to Toronto. Then the property tax on an annual basis. It's true, living in Toronto is becoming really, really expensive. But there are perks that you just can't live without. What do you think about the 9.5% property tax hike in Toronto? Do you agree that despite the pain of paying it, it is necessary at this time? What services do you think should get a trimming in the budget instead? This is all the time we got for today, and if you're not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? My name is Villar-Cisneros, and this is Toronto Living.